Hello everyone, Dave Galata here, just calling you from the ship. Just wanted to talk a little bit about my book, Crew of Ganges, available on Amazon. And it's also available in ebook. Working on the audiobook, that is still a work in progress, but the trilogy itself is done. So if you don't want to start a trilogy because you're not sure if it's ready, this one is. It's all set. The first book, Crew of Ganges, is right here and ready. So, what am I talking about with Crew of Ganges? Am I talking about the life of a ex-biker? Yeah, they have bikers in space in Crew of Ganges. They call them rattlers. Who finds himself becoming a bodyguard to the captain's son, only to find out the captain gets killed in a terrorist attack. And yes, I'm not giving things away. That happens very early on. And now he's caught in the middle of everything trying to figure out what's really going on. Because things don't seem too good. There's a lot of sketchy stuff going on. But who's going to listen to someone who's low rank? Who's going to listen to an ex-biker bodyguard? No one's going to listen to him. All the suits, that's a slang term for the officers. And you can imagine it's not used as pleasantry. The suits don't seem to care about what he thinks because he's low rank. No, he has to go on his own and figure things out. And what he finds is not what he expected. That's basically what Crew of Ganges is about, but there's other details, there's other parts of it deep down inside that aren't covered by the little blurb on the back of the book. This is a story about a culture that has been far, far away from Earth or the solar system for thousands of years. They have their own culture, and it's highly pacifistic. Their mission is an eternal mission. They don't leave their ship. They're not exploring strange new worlds and then saying hello. They are going from star system to star system, finding dead worlds that never had life, and are trying to turn them into beautiful terraformed paradises for future colonists. They don't want to live on a planet. They've gotten their ship is beautiful beyond compare. They have entire levels filled with forests and, tropical rainforests, even, and deserts and mountains, and they've got everything they could possibly need. So they don't need to be on a planet, but they're making it for others. It's a selfless mission. And everyone grows up thinking about the holy mission, that's what they call it, and how they're going to continue the work for a desperate humanity. And they've been doing this for so long that they cannot even consider what a different kind of life would be. But what happens when you have people who've taken some of the old ways all the way back to ancient Terra and start using those tactics on an unsuspecting population? That's part of what this book is about. It's about a civil war, yes, kind of like a mutiny, but this one shakes their culture to its very core. This one makes their entire world view explode. We call it a world view. They would call it ship view or mission view. There's a lot of words that they use that we don't use. But then they've been away from living on a planet for a very long time. So how does a pacifistic culture deal with violence that's been perpetrated upon their captain and upon their people? How are they going to respond to that? How are they going to think about these things? And that's part of this book as well. Now, their culture is nothing like ours. It's a mash of ancient cultures put together haphazardly and then forced to fit inside of a spaceship. So yeah, there might be some bits here and there that seem familiar, but make no assumptions. These people are not from places of Earth. Most of them don't even talk about it. There's only a few from what they call the great families There's an interesting thing. The great families, they have a lot of pride in their past history. But most of the crew, if you said the word United States, Japan, England, Spain, they wouldn't know what you were talking about. They would literally not know what you're talking about. It doesn't mean anything to them. They don't have a lot of the politics and issues we have today, and some of their politics and issues wouldn't make much sense to us. Like, how adherent to being good crew are you? Well, what does that mean? To them, it means everything. To us, a job's a job. To them, it is a holy obsession. At the same time, for them, it's the sectors that are everything. Are you part of command sector, medical sector, stellar sector, which is dealing with sciences and research, engineering sector, planetary sector, who does all the terraforming, or harbor sector? These sectors vie for crew. They try to recruit crew out of basic crew training, which is kind of like basic training in our militaries, but without the guns and the swords and stuff. It's more like crew procedures. So their education system is run by agro sector, which is arguably the most powerful sector. You want food and water and air? Well, that's them. They're in charge of all the forests. They're in charge of all the farms. You want clean water? It's agro. So the sectors have a lot of politics between them. But that might not make much sense to us. Why did the stellar sector crew not like the planetary sector crew? They're both scientists. Not to them. To stellar sector, they're in charge of more operations when the ship is between stars. Planetary sector takes over the minute they're getting ready to terraform. It's kind of hard to step down in the middle of your career. But they have to. And planetary, once the planet's done, command sector says, okay, we're done. Let's go to the next world. And now you got to give up all that control to stellar? They don't like each other. They may both be scientists, but they have a very different set of issues. So the sectors are basically the nations of Ganges. Ganges is the name of the ship. There's the ship. It's like sorry, did that wrong. There's the ship. Kind of looks like a scepter, or a spear, or a wand. It's 500 kilometers long and 20 kilometers wide, so it's huge. If you rolled up the east coast of the United States, you'd have about the land mass of that ship. It's a very, very large ship, and their crew complement changes between 40 and 60 million crew. That's a lot of people. So some people, some of the crew, some of the high officers, the suits, they get a little power mad sometimes. And usually the sectors keep each other in check. What happens when someone has too many fingers and too many pies? That's another issue. Economically speaking, they wouldn't understand us at all. They don't have the kind of economic systems we talk about. We talk about capitalism, we talk about communism, we talk about socialism, we talk about democracy. They don't have any of that. They're a ship. All crew get quarters, your uniform, food 3 times a day, water, computer access. You get a couple of days off. They call it rotations. Every week. Medical, all your medical, that's all provided by the ship as long as you go to your post. Okay. But what happens when you want a piece of jewelry? Or, how about some cake? You don't need cake. You don't need jewelry, but it's still there, and the desire for those things are still there. Ganges has an economic system that's voluntary. A voluntary economic system based on something called chips. Poker chips. Those poker chips are based on power consumption. and if you're able to recharge batteries for engineering sector, if you're doing that, they'll give you chips. You can exchange those chips with people who are making jewelry at home in their spare time, or painting pictures, or making broadcasts, kind of like this one. And if you like them, you give them chips in exchange for those non-essentials. But you can live very comfortably without dealing with chips. You just don't have a lot of the extras. So this is a very different system. They wouldn't understand that we have homeless. They wouldn't get that. They would not understand, being in debt. Meaningless. Completely meaningless to them. What happens when you take that system and you upend it? Oh, a mess is what happens. And Crew of Ganges is the beginning of that mess. Now, at this point, I am working on my second trilogy. And the second trilogy carries on the story, but 500 years later. The first trilogy happens during the lifespan of the main character, Marek Langman, who is the ex-biker turned bodyguard. And it follows his adventures and his investigations and eventually his career. There is a lot of excitement, a lot of adventure. There's a lot of discoveries and old things that everyone forgot about that you might find familiar. Yes, you might find some of the things they discover very familiar, but to them it's all brand new. So this is what I'm offering here. I'm going to be making more of these little short films. And right now I'm on 12 minutes, so we're going to cut that from there. But I hope you enjoy these, and I'm going to be picking little topics here and there to talk about how I wrote Crew of Ganges and why. So I hope you enjoy this. Please feel free to share it. I would love the word to get around. And Crew of Ganges, once again, by myself, David Galata, is available on Amazon. And you can also connect with me personally through the Crew of Ganges Crucible Spirals pages here on Facebook or at Galata Studios if you want a signed copy or notifications about events. So hopefully I'll hear from you folks soon. Enjoy yourselves, have a great rotation, be good crew, take care.